Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure. All Bookmap Ltd materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel, which I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @Pless. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel and Bookmap Discord is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how market makers, traders, and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as the directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset, and setups in that asset can be taken any number of ways. For example, the S&P 500 setups can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel and Bookmap, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right, here's my agenda for today, Friday, December 15th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events for today to wrap up the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today, and then I'll take a look at the live market. All right, so first of all, news items, economic data, and events. PMI data came out at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. The manufacturing PMI data was less than expected, less than previous, also less than 50, indicating contraction. And then the services PMI was greater than expected, greater than the previous, and also greater than 50, indicating expansion. And then, of course, today is the big options expiration. And let's just take a look at that. What this chart is showing is delta notional, market makers delta notional, by expiration. So this is expiration date on the horizontal axis. This is for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. The orange bars are indicating call delta notional. Blue bars indicating put delta notional. And you can see the call delta notional is very dominant, much larger than the the put delta notional. And this may be difficult to see. I'm hovering over this bar. It's showing the numbers, and the call delta notional is over 1 trillion. So that's positive 1 trillion. Again, a huge expiration. This is today for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and S&P 500. So the consequence of this is all of this call delta notional that is helping to stabilize the market is going to be expiring, and that could lead to more volatility next week. All right, let's take a look at the S&P 500 now. This is the ES futures in Bookmap. And one other event, this morning, right around 8:30, the Fed President John Williams was speaking on CNBC. He said that the Fed was not really looking at rate cuts right now, kind of contradicting what Jerome Powell said earlier in the week on Wednesday at the press conference. And there was an initial bearish reaction. That was at 8:30, and then again a repeat of that right before the cash open. And that was about 9:20. All right, so this is the S&P 500 futures. Let me just mention a couple of other things going on today. So first of all, there was a SPY dividend, and I posted this in Discord. I usually post the index relationships, including ES to SPY, the ratio, and that ratio changed pretty substantially from yesterday due to the SPY dividend. And also the S&P 500 and NASDAQ will rebalance today. So a lot going on today. Options expiration, S&P 500, NASDAQ rebalance, SPY dividend. All right, so a lot of factors moving price up and down today. All right, let's take a look. Let's start with. So let's start with positional analysis now. Again, this is the S&P 500 futures in Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to take a look at a larger time frame. So I'm going to start with SPX and look at a daily chart. And the reason I'm looking at the daily chart, the 30-day 1 hour chart that I normally look at, has moved past this key turning point, October 30th. That was kind of a turning point for the 10-year Treasury yields. Also, an IV collapse, put Vanna rally, and now that rally continues. Some brief consolidation periods, and then this was the November 14th CPI report, much better than expected, and then the rally continued. All right, so quite a move in the SPX from around 4,100, now trading up over 4,700. All right, let's take a look now at, let's go to the 30-day 1 hour chart, take a closer look at this, just so we can see the SPX levels. And I'm going to zoom in on this chart. So this is just a closer look at the chart that I just showed the last few days. I'm going to zoom in. So starting last Friday, the SPX broke out of the 4540 to 4600 consolidation. Then got a big boost from the FOMC meeting and announcement and press conference, and now is consolidating somewhere between 4,700 and 4,750. All right, let me point out the key levels on this chart. So first of all, the dashed purple line showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. SPX trading pretty far above the upper weekly expected move. That's based on the options market. I update this once a week over the weekend. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market. SPX trading inside that range today. The dark red lines are showing Spotgamma levels. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. These are proprietary Spotgamma levels available to Spotgamma subscribers for a variety of trading platforms. This is Thinkorswim. Again, I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, here's the put wall at 4,400. That's the strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And the next level up is the volatility trigger at 45.95. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. On the other hand, like SPX is trading now above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to subdue or decrease volatility. The next level up is 4,700. That is the absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with the largest absolute negative and positive gamma. So that is where most of the gamma weighted open interest is concentrated. And that may very well change next week as a lot of that gamma expires. And then finally, the call wall has moved up to 4750. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. So that level did move up from 4,700 yesterday, and also the volatility trigger moved higher slightly, just 10 points higher to 45.95. All right, so those are the key daily levels. All right, let's take a look at a shorter time frame just to see the levels on play for today. So here's SPX. This is a 1-minute chart, and I'm showing about 2.5 days worth of data. This is the reaction on Wednesday from the FOMC announcement and press conference. Very sharp rally higher, and then really consolidation after that. And today this combo L4 level at 47.24 is acting as resistance. But SPX trading at a very narrow range today. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. So in Bookmap, I have my own cloud notes. So I can show SPX levels. There's that 47.24 level acting as resistance. Here's the SPY 469 volatility trigger earlier today acting as support. Now it looks like SPX is breaking through that level. So with my cloud notes, I can show SPX levels, SPY levels, and any other levels I want on this chart. Note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. And right now, today it's right around 53 points. So what this means, ES minus SPX is 53. So I'm showing SPX 4700 at ES 4753. All right, so again, the levels in play for today, primarily this 4724 combo level acting as resistance, and then earlier today, the SPY 469 volatility trigger acting as support. And note again, as I mentioned, that with the SPY dividend, the ES to SPX, ES to SPY ratio changed pretty dramatically from yesterday. All right, so those are the levels in play for today. And for SPX, again, the volatility trigger and call wall shifted higher. And there was a hat trick for SPY. The volatility trigger, put wall, and absolute gamma strike also all shifted higher. So right now, for the S&P 500, it is trading below both the SPY and SPX call walls at 4750 and 475. So overall, bullish shifts higher in the key daily levels for the S&P 500. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. So earlier today, the NASDAQ has been stronger than the S&P 500. All right, let's take a look at the levels for NASDAQ. So this is the NQ futures and Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I do want to isolate first the QQQ levels. QQQ here is 405. Yesterday that was the call wall, and today the call wall has moved down to 400. So 400 for QQQ, that is the call wall and the absolute gamma strike. All right, let's take a look at NDX. And note this 406 level, more or less acting as resistance. I'm not sure what you would call this pattern, kind of a double head and shoulders. All right, let's take a look at NDX now. See the NDX levels in play for today. So also a pretty narrow range for NDX with the 16,600 level in play. That's an L1 level on this combo L1 level combining QQQ and NDX gamma weighted open interest into one level, and that is 16,604. All right, let's go back to Bookmap, NQ Futures. Here's that cluster of levels right in the middle of the price range. Point of control just below that. So that is NDX levels and the QQQ 405 level. So just like ES, I have my own cloud notes so I can show QQQ levels, NDX levels, also key levels for NQ. There's the upper daily expected move for NQ today, acting as resistance. So NQ moves up to that level, and as you would expect, moves lower at that upper daily expected move, staying within that range. And we'll take a look at setups in a few minutes. And Sheena 205, hello, welcome, glad you're here. Ask if I can please mark the call walls with a box or question mark, since I don't read the numbers clearly, or always follow your pointer. All right, so the call walls are not visible on either chart today. So for ES, I don't know, it may I'm looking at YouTube. I can read these numbers. So for example, here's the 469 volatility trigger. I don't know, I can read that okay. All right, so I hope that helps. Sheena, how's the point of control determined? That's just something that Bookmap does automatically. It's volume point of control, so it is the where most of the session volume is concentrated. This is the session volume profile, and I'm showing the point of control on chart. If you want more information on that, just go to the Bookmap website and look for the knowledge base, and you can search for point of control, and you should be able to get more information. But it's based on the session volume profile, and I start my session at, actually I have backfill data, so I can get backfill data all the way to the start yesterday afternoon. So that is the 6 p.m. start of the futures yesterday. So that's what my session is based on, but of course most of the volume is concentrated here in the regular trading hour session. All right, Adam asks, how can you see when we get a short squeeze and when it's going to end, like right now on NQ? All right, let's go back to NQ. Well, the way I look at this is looking at the stop orders. That's shown by the yellow line in the subchart. This is in sum mode or cumulative mode. So this is showing that as price was increasing, buy stop orders were helping to fuel the move higher, shown by the rising yellow line. Also the on-chart indicators. These are showing buy stop orders that helps to fuel the move higher. And notice this stop orders start to reverse and move lower as NQ reaches the upper daily expected move, and now sell stop orders, helping to fuel the move lower. And when is it going to end, like right now on NQ? So for NQ, I would look for, if you're looking for some clues right now, one thing to look at is iceberg orders. Large traders coming in with iceberg orders, buying with iceberg orders. On the other hand, Yellow line, sell stop orders continue to move lower. Also aggressive sellers moving lower. And of course, I always look at heroes. So let's do that now. Let's take a look at some setups. Actually, before I do that, I have not finished my positional analysis. I do want to take a look at gamma notional to see how market makers were positioned on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. And then Adam will get to setups and NASDAQ in just a minute. All right, so this is gamma notional, market makers position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. And the reason I look at this is it gives me a sense of potential volatility for the day and how market makers may react with changes in price and applied volatility. This is for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. Note all these numbers are positive. So for an index, what that means is this is Spotgamma's assumption that traders are short calls, market makers are long calls, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure as price increases, and they can buy them back as price decreases. So they're trading against price action in a positive gamma environment. Note these numbers did shift around from yesterday for the S&P 500. Although they're still quite positive, they did shift lower, less positive. And for QQQ, gamma notional also shifted lower, as well as IWM. Still positive, but less positive. So that is that trend is most likely to continue with expiration today. Let's take a look at Vanna model to get a graphical representation of what that may mean. I'm going to start with the Vanna model for SPX. What this chart is showing is market makers delta notional. That's their delta exposure on the vertical axis, and price, spot price for SPX on the horizontal axis. There are two curves on this chart. The first, the light gray curve, shows how market makers delta notional may change with changes in price only. And the purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. That shows how market makers delta notional may change with changes in price and implied volatility. And that change in delta with the change in applied volatility is the Vanna effect. Vanna is a second order Greek. All right, let's take a look at price now. First of all, for SPX, currently trading right around 47.06. So starting to shift toward this left portion of the curve. So what this is showing, if price continues to fall, implied volatility increases, market makers will need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. So gamma is shifting, in this case, from positive to less positive to even potentially negative. So on this portion of the Vanna curve, market makers will need to sell futures as price drops to hedge their delta exposure. And that can enhance or increase volatility. On the other hand, if price started to increase up toward 4,800, then market makers would need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure, and that would be gamma becoming more positive. Or let's take a look at SPY. SPY currently trading right around 468, 469. So also moving toward the left portion of this Vanna model. I'm looking at the purple curve. That's the one that I take a look at. Finally, let's take a look at QQQ. Still positive for the day. trading right around 404. A little bit closer to the bottom of the Vanna model here. All right, so let's take a look now at some setups. So that was positional analysis. Now we'll go take a look at some setups. And I'm going to start by taking a look at what options traders are doing today. So this is Spotgamma Hero, and this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity. This is real-time data. Hero stands for Hedging Impact Real-Time Options. Everything that we've looked at so far, other than Bookmap, has been based on static data. Open interest that is updated once a day, sometime during the night by OCC. Spotgamma takes that data, applies their own proprietary algorithms. They come up with the levels that we've looked at, the Vanna model, everything that I use in my planning process, my positional analysis. Now this is real-time data. So this is showing, again, price with a white line, hero signal with a purple line. Price, hero signal, and the hero signal is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. And a rising purple line indicates traders are taking positive delta positions. They are buying calls and or selling puts, and a falling purple line indicates they are taking negative delta positions, buying puts and or selling calls. So I'm going to zoom in on this chart. This right here is the cash open, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And just about 10 minutes after the cash open, note the rise in the hero line. Traders started taking positive delta positions. Price increases. Hero line levels off and price consolidates. Then traders start taking negative delta positions and price starts to move lower. Very strong correlation between options trades, hedging flow, and price action in the S&P 500. So when traders buy and sell calls and puts, and the SPY, SPX, ES, market makers take the opposite side of those trades, and they hedge their delta with futures, with ES futures. And let's just take a look at let's take a look at calls and puts, see what traders are doing. So first of all, focusing on the morning, traders were buying calls and selling puts. So that's shown by the rising orange line, calls, they're buying calls. Rising blue line shows they were selling puts. So when both of these lines move in the same direction, that's a very powerful directional signal. And right around 10:15 they stop selling puts, kind of giving an early warning to a consolidation. Then around 11 they stop buying calls, they take their foot off the gas, and then right at 12:30 they start selling calls and buying puts. Price moves lower. All right, so let's go take a look at Bookmap now. Go back to ES. So here's let me bump up these volume dots just a little bit. Here's the cash open, and the magenta, the volume dots are showing market buy minus sell. So right at the open, there were a lot of aggressive sellers, market sell orders. Green dots, so the volume dots again show market buy minus sell. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers, and green dots indicate more buyers than sellers. So price moves down to the 469 volatility trigger, and note the large iceberg orders here. That's shown by the on-chart indicator as well as the rising light blue line in the subchart. And at this level of zoom, Spotgamma consolidates a number of trades, executions, into one big number, that is 5,566 contracts and 52 different executions. Nevertheless, that is a large number, a lot of iceberg orders that large traders use to hide their size. So that's one indication of a potential reversal, so that we know that price was dropping down to a potential support level. Large traders start to come in with iceberg orders. We also know that from Hero, traders were buying calls and selling puts. Market makers take the other side of that, so they have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure, and that leads to a rally from 469 all the way up past the SPY 470 level, up to this 47.24 combo 4 level that did act as resistance. So long period of consolidation, about 90 minutes. Then as Hero turns lower, traders start selling puts, selling calls and buying puts. Aggressive sellers start to come in, and price moves lower. All right, so not a lot of range in the ES today. Gamma market makers' position on the gamma curve is still positive gamma environment. Tends to lead toward more mean reverting price action. So let's go back and take a look at Hero now and see what traders are doing. So still Hero is trending lower. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at NASDAQ now. So in the morning, starting around 9:50, Hero was trending higher, supportive of a move higher, right around 10:40, 10:50, 11 o'clock. Hero levels off, and then before the excuse me, before the S&P 500 turns down, the Hero signal for NASDAQ turns down. So let's go take a look at Bookmap, and let's just take a look at one other thing. Puts and calls. So traders have pretty much continuously been buying puts. That's shown by the falling blue line. And in the morning they were buying calls. Now it looks like they have resumed buying calls again right around 12:50. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to NASDAQ. And again, earlier today, NASDAQ was much stronger than the S&P 500. And here's that move higher at 9:30. aggressive buyers start to come in. Also buy iceberg orders, shown by the rising light blue line. I'm not sure why the on-chart indicator is not showing that. It is showing the sell iceberg orders later on. So that looks like, just like the S&P 500, a pretty large order by iceberg orders. So we know that traders were taking positive delta positions. Price moves up all the way to the upper daily expected move. Sorry, I don't know what's going on here with. Let's just move on. Go back to ES, see if we can get that cleared up. Back to NASDAQ. All right, there we go. Sorry about my voice today. All right, let's go back and take a look at Hero again. One other signal that I like to take a look at. So Hero signal for NASDAQ, still negative notional value for today, but moving up off the lows. Take a look at the Mag 7. And let me zoom out. What this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla. These stocks make up a large portion of both the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500, but especially the NASDAQ 100. And that may change a little bit with the rebalance. That may be one explanation for the recent weakness. But anyway, today they are definitely taking positive delta positions. Traders taking positive delta positions in the Magnificent Seven. We'll take a look at an example of several of those stocks in just a minute. Let's just do a quick separation, puts and calls. So they're buying calls today. So the notional value of calls, that's 1 billion, versus they're also buying puts. That's minus 91 million. So call buyers much more aggressive than put buyers. And when traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, and they have to buy whatever stock they're buying calls in to hedge their delta exposure. And we'll see that again in a couple of examples. So this is another very valuable indicator to look at, especially for the NASDAQ, but also the S&P 500. So in the morning, sorry about that, Spotgamma is still working on this issue. So in the morning, traders taking positive delta positions, buying calls. Options traders take their foot off the gas, price levels off. All right, let's take a look at some stocks now. And I have been focusing most of my attention, most of my trading on stocks recently. So let's take a look at several stocks from this morning. There's Amazon. Very strong morning in Amazon. Notice 150 is the call wall, key gamma strike. Traders just a couple of minutes, 5 minutes after the open, start taking positive delta positions. That's shown by the sharply increasing hero signal. Also note the flow alert there, indicating significant options activity. Let's see what they're doing. So in the morning, they were buying calls. Again, when traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. Sorry about that. Zoom back out. So notice how as Amazon reaches the 150 call wall level, that the options traders take their foot off the gas and then start taking negative delta positions. And sorry about that again. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to Amazon. The reason the volume dots were so big is for some reason today, I guess maybe the expiration, that all the stocks, the opening print compared to the volume at the rest of the day is huge. That's the opening print shown with that huge volume dot. So here's the 150 call wall doing its job, acting as resistance. So Amazon jumps up very quickly, 2 points up to the 150 call wall. Options traders take their foot off the gas, and price is now consolidating. Moves a little bit lower, now consolidating. All right, the next is Meta. Also a huge opening print. There it is. And depending on the closing print, the point of control will certainly remain at that level of the opening print. That's where most of the volume was today. Or let's go take a look at Hero, see what options traders were doing in Meta. And very similar to Amazon, price for Meta did not make it to the call wall at 340. Traders aggressively buying calls at the open. Note the flow alert. Again, signaling significant options activity. Call buyers take their foot off the gas. Price consolidates. They start selling calls. Price moves lower. Also, another dynamic in play for today is the expiration. A lot of these stocks that I'm looking at, their options are call dominated, especially for Meta would be above that call wall, and as price, and those are a lot of calls that expire today. Price moves lower. Traders stop buying calls. All those calls that are out of the money quickly lose value due to the passage of time. That's charm. The change in delta is decreasing. So the change in delta as time passes, that's a charm effect. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, and as those calls start to lose value, market makers can sell their long stock hedges. So that's a call gamma unwind. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. So again, there's the sharp rally. right at the open with the huge opening print. And then options traders take their foot off the gas, price consolidates. All right, the next one I want to take a look at is NVIDIA. Very strong day here at NVIDIA. Again, a huge opening print. Let's go take a look at Hero, see what options traders are doing. Go to NVIDIA. Same pattern, traders aggressively taking positive delta positions from the open, take their foot off the gas, price consolidates or moves lower, in this case consolidates. Now it looks like they have started taking positive delta positions again. And when I looked at this earlier, they were buying calls and selling puts. Calls shown by the rising orange line, positive notional value. They're also selling puts. Most of that activity was in the first hour of trade. Then they took their foot off the gas, now maybe buying puts. But overall for the day, the notional value still is positive. So they are buying calls and selling puts in NVIDIA. All right, so good day in NVIDIA if you're bullish. Let's go back to Bookmap. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. And unlike Meta and Amazon, it looks like there were more opportunities to get long. Deep pullback right around 945. Price moves up to the high liquidity at 490. The heat map and Bookmap shows a history of the limit orders, resting orders in the order book. Limit orders above price would be sell orders, and those orders are consumed. Price pulls back a point to 489 and continues higher. Then makes a series of higher lows. So multiple pullback entry opportunities in NVIDIA. And certainly the typical range in NVIDIA is much greater than Amazon especially. Let's go back and take a look at Hero. Let's take a look at one other thing. This is Equity Hub. And let's take a look at NVIDIA. We can take a look at some information in here. So first of all, there's considerable amount of gamma expiring today. Almost 49% expiring today. And note the composite view chart here shows in the green area that options are dominated, call options dominate options above the 485 strike. And a lot of that is expiring today. So if traders were not buying calls, market makers would most likely be selling stock to hedge their delta exposures, their delta decreases due to the passage of time, those calls losing delta as due to the charm effect. But in this case, they are buying calls. That Hero shows they're buying calls, so market makers have to continue to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. Let's just take a look at the history. And what I like to look at is the changes in the key daily levels from yesterday to today. So there were no changes, but the call wall does remain at 500. So up above for NVIDIA there is room to run. So that's the potential ceiling for NVIDIA at 500. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. So traders continue to buy calls and sell puts. Right around 1:30 they started buying puts, but overall notional value is still positive. Let's go back to Bookmap. All right, does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Now's the time. All right, let's circle back and take a look at the, first of all, the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 ES futures stuck just below the SPY 469 volatility trigger. Take a look at NASDAQ. And so NASDAQ just now below the NDX 16,600 level that has acted as resistance, then support, now potentially resistance. Let's take a look at Hero and see what options traders are doing in the indices, also the Magnificent Seven. Then we'll call it a day. All right, so first of all, S&P 500. Options traders continue to take negative delta positions. Market makers take the opposite side of that, have to sell ES futures. Mag 7. Positive delta in the morning, foot off the gas, and now starting to take negative delta positions. And finally NASDAQ. And sorry, I'm sure I'm going to butcher your name. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Lududis says, thanks, constant, consistent clarity. Thank you for your kind words. You're very welcome. Glad you're here. All right, so with the NASDAQ, Hero is slightly trending lower, maybe leveling off now. Let's go back to Bookmap. Yes. Still struggling to make it above the 469 volatility trigger. Okay, my time is up. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you for your questions and comments. I hope I was able to answer everything. Everyone, have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Thanks again. Bye.